And finally, there's one big thank you is to this man here who made it possible. He took me on an incredible adventure, and I feel extremely privileged to have worked with him, to call him my colleague and to call him my friend. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Questions? We've just consulted this. If there's just a couple of questions, I'm only too happy to answer those questions. This is just like a lecture. A first-year lecture, nobody asks questions. So I'll leave it there and hand it over to Mick. Thank you.
Turn this mic back on. So thanks, Craig, for that wonderful lecture. Steve would be very proud of what if he was here today, hearing what you've had to say. I now want to call upon the Senior Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Professor Paul Greenfield, to come forward and award the adjunct professorship that we gave Steve just prior to his death. Paul.
Thanks, Mick, and thanks, Craig, for a great talk. In fact, the thing I took away a number of things from the talk, but the thing that's most interesting is that crocodiles are actually like birds. Now, we have a 14-year-old daughter who's not as keen on crocodiles as Craig and Steve are, but now that I can tell her that they're just like birds, I'm sure that will help. In fact, at a recent, she had a science question where she had to answer what are five of the things worldwide that as a result of global warming. And she went through, she said flooding in low-lying areas, increased temperature, increased droughts, and number 5 was crocodiles in the Brisbane River. So she has some concerns. So I'd like to thank you, Craig, for a great talk. The University of Queensland awards adjunct professorships to people in the community who are not members of the university, who are extremely proficient and experts in their own field. But a key part about the adjunct professorship is they actually work with the university. So it's not just an honour on the basis of what they've done personally or in their work in the past. It is the fact that they're actually doing something with the university. And as Craig so amply showed, Steve was not just doing something, he was doing a great job with the university, and we're very grateful for that. I think the second thing I'd just like to mention is the competition to win those ARC linkage grants is extremely tough. Ian McKinnon is here today, and I think the chances are about 1 in 3. It's of that order anyway. So the fact that this team won that grant just again, I think, attests to the great contribution that Steve made. So Terry, Bob Irwin, the team from Australia Zoo, Ian McKinnon on behalf of the ARC, Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service, other distinguished guests, my colleagues, well, welcome tonight. And what I'd just like to do now is recognise Steve by presenting to Terry a plaque commemorating that adjunct professorship, which, as Craig indicated, unfortunately he never actually got to read that he had been offered that position by the University of Queensland. So, Terry, if you would come forward, we'll present it to you.
Thank you very much. This is a tremendous honor. You'll have to excuse me. I'm a little bit croaky this evening. I think that this would be such a tremendous honor to Steve. I think he had such great admiration for the work that the University of Queensland is doing, and particular love for Craig Franklin. I know he appreciated the years of incredible patience and fortitude that Bob showed teaching Steve all these terrific things. I'm reminded of the first time Steve had a crocodile encounter when he was just 9 years old. Bob encouraged him to help catch a freshwater crocodile by jumping off the front of the boat and catching it by hand, which leaves question to Bob's love for Steve. But apparently, among blokes, this is a sign of affection. Steve jumped off the front of the boat. He grabbed the freshwater crocodile by the scruff of the neck, got its tail between his legs, and the 9-year-old boy suddenly realized that the crocodile was much larger than he had anticipated. He was not going to let go, and as he was concerned that at some point he was actually going to drown, he felt his father's strong arm underneath him, lifting him and the crocodile back into the boat. Now, if that had happened to me, I would have made a mental note never to jump out of a boat onto a crocodile ever again. But this only increased Steve's passion and desire to work with crocodiles and make a difference. I think if he were here tonight, he would be tremendously honored and appreciative, but mostly because it brings to light the great concerns we have about crocodiles. This is an animal that's been on the planet for some 65 million years. It's survived ice ages. It's survived against all odds, against being shot at, against its habitat being destroyed, against so much hatred and misunderstanding, and is also an animal that has been formally studied for about 20 years. This is quite shocking. We're learning that apex predators are critically important to the earth, that without sharks and crocodiles and the top of the food chain animals, everything underneath them suffers. So whether or not you love crocodiles, if you love the wild and the wilderness and wild places, know that the crocodiles are the sentinels, the ones that are looking after everything and making sure that you've got barramundi and mud crabs in the future. God bless the crocodiles. Thank you very much for everyone's tireless work. I want to assure you this work is going to continue. And when Professor Franklin said, are there any questions, I wanted to put my hand up and say, what are we going to do next year? Because I think we all have some wonderful ideas, both for protecting crocodiles and human life, which is very important. So thank you again. This will go in pride of place, and it'll be something the Irwin family will treasure forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you for the support from Australia Zoo for our research program. We deeply appreciate it. As with all functions like this, we have a few people to thank. I want to personally thank John Standen and the Australia Zoo crew who helped us organise this function. I also want to thank from my office Carissa Douglas and Trent Leggett, who put in a lot of time and effort, and from the Office of Marketing and Communications at the University, Fiona Kennedy and Jan King. So if we could just thank them in the normal way. It's fantastic to see such a auditorium that's absolutely full. It's been a wonderful lecture. I'd now like to invite you to join us for some refreshments and to talk, hopefully maybe a little bit to Craig and other people from Australia Zoo. So please join us for some refreshments before you leave. And thank you all for coming. We deeply appreciate it.